Okay, I've been thinking for a minute how it's going to be difficult for the Indiana Fever to keep their core together long term. Short term, it's a little different, but this has been accelerated by the information we have regarding the proposed CBA from the league to the players, the salary cap, the salaries, and how everything would fit underneath that. Credit where it's due. I was given this account, suggested this account. Ken Swift actually sent this to me. Brianna Mitchell had talked about this on X regarding, how it's going to be difficult to fit multiple max.
Caitlin Clark's upcoming Supermax contract has revealed a devastating weakness in the WNBA's proposed CBA that threatens the entire league's foundation. This goes beyond a single franchise issue. It's about the league's survival, and her meteoric rise is demanding changes that could prevent a complete collapse by 2026. The suggested salary cap framework makes keeping multiple superstars virtually impossible, creating a financial disaster for every team with championship aspirations. The consequences run deeper than initially understood, potentially destroying the fundamental structure of competitive WNBA basketball.
For example, if the Fever paid Kelsey Mitchell the $1.13 million Supermax and spent a combined $1.08 million on Boston and Caitlin Clark's mandated rookie scale salaries, that would leave the team with roughly $3.4 million to spend on 9 more roster spots, including newly drafted players. This equates to roughly $382,000 or 6.7% of the cap per player. And that's if the Fever only has one max player on its roster. This is almost $100,000 less than the proposed average salary. So to explain that, basically the way that it's proposed right now, there's a $5.65 million salary cap, right? And the max salary is going up.
The devastating reality emerges from the league's new collective bargaining agreement proposal. Officials are presenting players with a $5.65 million salary cap, a figure that appears generous until you examine the brutal mathematics of player compensation. This supposedly impressive cap becomes a financial prison, locking franchises into an impossible position when attempting to assemble a legitimate championship roster with several elite talents. The buried restrictions in salary allocation models throughout this framework are creating conditions for an unparalleled talent shortage.
Proposed right now, there's a $5.65 million salary cap, right? And the max salary is going up over $1 million. It's been at about $250,000. So the max salary is going up to over $1 million, which is like 20% of the new cap. And the average salary is going to about $500,000, right? So if you give out even the one max salary to Kelsey Mitchell, that's 20% of the cap. And then, what Clark and Boston are currently under, you have less than the average salary to spend on the rest of the players, which means, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, only Mikhail.
This proposed CBA will drive maximum salaries beyond $1 million, a dramatic increase from the former $250,000 ceiling. Although individual stars benefit tremendously, a single player now consumes roughly 20% of the team's entire salary budget. Average player compensation is simultaneously rising to approximately $500,000, establishing a massive financial chasm between the league's elite performers and essential supporting players. This enormous wage disparity immediately creates roster assembly hell for even the most competent front office operations.
But Timson, this is why rookie contracts are so valuable. And this is the same thing for the NBA, by the way. This is, in a sense, will mirror the current structure of the NBA, where it's much, much more difficult to put together the quote-unquote big threes. Even when the big threes were put together, think LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, it was more difficult to build talent around them. You'd had to have vets, who wanted to get a ring like Shane Battier or somebody like that, and then players on, who weren't making a ton of money. But it's become even more prohibitive in the NBA, and that's with bird rules, where you can go over the cap to sign certain players. For the WNBA right now, if that...
The Indiana Fever's championship potential perfectly illustrates this approaching financial disaster. Analysts including Brianna Mitchell and Meredith Cash immediately recognized their impossible situation. Should Kelsey Mitchell obtain a Supermax contract valued at $1.13 million, combined with Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston occupying required rookie-scale deals, the franchise faces just $3.4 million for 9 remaining roster positions. This amount falls short of average league salary for their crucial depth players.
In the NBA, and that's with bird rules, where you can go over the cap to sign certain players. For the WNBA right now, I mean, if that is the case immediately, Lexi Hull's a restricted free agent. So the Fever can match any offer she gets, but she's clearly worth more than an average salary. Sophie Cunningham has already expressed her desire to get a more secure contract. So she is going to be looking for more than an average salary. So if just Clark, Boston, and Mitchell under that Supermax leave you with less than the average salary to go around the rest of the roster, it's a bit of a pickle. Now, I believe the salary cap number.
Examining these figures more closely exposes the complete catastrophe ahead. Following their core trio, the Fever would possess roughly $382,000 per remaining player across 9 roster spots. This amount sits nearly $100,000 beneath the proposed WNBA average player salary. Picture attempting to construct a winning team when your fundamental role players earn substantially less than league standard compensation. This transcends difficulty, representing an unsustainable framework for attracting and keeping quality talent necessary for championship success.
Go around the rest of the roster, it's a bit of a pickle. Now, I believe the salary cap number will probably come up a little bit during these negotiations, which leaves that percentage a little different and maybe creates a little bit more wiggle room. But it's not just about this year for the Fever specifically, of course. One of the advantages they have is that Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are still under rookie deals. If you look at the 2025 cap, you see Kelsey Mitchell there was making $250K as a base salary. That's under the core distinction. Let's say the core distinction still exists. We don't know exactly how it will shake out.
This frightening scenario explains why rookie contracts have become incredibly precious assets, reflecting patterns observed in NBA operations. Young talents on established, cost-effective agreements offer essential cap relief, providing franchises a narrow opportunity to construct around their marquee players. Nevertheless, this represents a short-term solution, not a lasting approach. When those rookie agreements conclude, the genuine financial pressure intensifies, demanding impossible decisions from even the most promising organizations.
A Supermax salary. So that makes it nearly impossible for the Fever to have Clark, Boston, and Mitchell on Supermax deals and have a competent roster beyond that in the future. So that's where you're looking at a little bit right there, right? If first you have this immediate impact, does it allow you to keep Sophie and Lexi Hull and anybody else you might want to sign under the terms of the deal with bringing Mitchell back if you decide to bring Mitchell back right now? And they stated that that's a priority. And then when you're going forward, that the Fever.
The WNBA suggested CBA framework disturbingly parallels obstacles confronting NBA super teams, yet with significantly more restrictive limitations. NBA bird rights permitted franchises to surpass salary caps for retaining homegrown talent, a vital tool for keeping developed players. The current WNBA proposal eliminates such flexibility, establishing hard caps that make retaining multiple superstars exponentially more challenging without decimating the entire supporting cast.
Figure out the future later, sort of kick the can down the road, or do you have to face these decisions sooner rather than later as soon as you see how the new CBA shakes out, and does that shape the roster building immediately? Now, the Fever have made it clear Kelsey Mitchell is the number one priority, so I'm going to assume the former rather than the idea that, they let Kelsey Mitchell walk and try to construct the rest of the roster around Clark and Boston. I would think they'll try to run it back with the big three and do what they can to build around them. It's one of the reasons there's an argument to keep Timpson in the expansion draft because she's on a rookie contract.
These immediate consequences are materializing rapidly. Lexi Hull, currently a restricted free agent, obviously deserves compensation exceeding average salary, placing the Fever in difficult position matching external offers. Sophie Cunningham has publicly voiced her need for enhanced long-term security, a request becoming extraordinarily challenging when Clark, Boston, and Mitchell consume such overwhelming cap percentages. These represent fundamental barriers to franchise stability and player contentment rather than minor complications. Despite hopes that final salary cap figures might increase through negotiations, the core problem of accommodating multiple Supermax players persists. Small adjustments won't remedy systemic failures. The primary concern remains the proportion consumed by maximum contracts, severely restricting resources for developing depth. This compels teams into precarious financial engineering, where single miscalculations could destroy their entire competitive timeline. The Fever's present benefit stems from Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston's rookie agreements temporarily concealing inherent roster construction problems. For 2025, they might designate Kelsey Mitchell again using one-year Supermax qualification to preserve their trio another season, though this delays inevitable painful choices. The genuine crisis approaches in 2027 when Boston's rookie deal expires after 2026, immediately qualifying her for Supermax money, while Clark simultaneously demands Supermax compensation reflecting her transformative talent and enormous market influence. This eliminates temporary flexibility, replaced by impossible financial decisions potentially destroying championship-caliber rosters. Mathematical reality reveals grim prospects for franchises hoping to maintain three Supermax-caliber talents, making Clark, Boston, and Mitchell combinations on maximum deals virtually impossible while fielding competent supporting players. The suggested cap structure prohibits this scenario, representing Clark's accelerated future forcing league confrontation with restrictive policies. The Fever's clear priority involves keeping Clark and Boston together as foundational partnership for sustained success, though this essential commitment makes Mitchell's long-term future increasingly uncertain. Her situation exemplifies brutal compromises every elite team must navigate. This challenge extends throughout the league, amplified by exceptional talent concentration on Indiana's roster possessing three objectively Supermax-worthy players. Current proposals limit teams to two maximum players while maintaining sufficient space for valuable role players capable of championship contribution. This makes crucial supporting players like Hull and Cunningham central battlegrounds whose contract negotiations directly test new CBA limitations regarding paying deserved compensation versus forcing talent elsewhere, fundamentally weakening competitive balance. Cunningham's public desire for contract security highlights player perspectives seeking stability while fans demand retention, yet rigid salary caps eliminate middle ground solutions. This transcends monetary concerns, encompassing roster construction, player satisfaction and free agent attraction capabilities that current CBA proposals render mutually exclusive for successful teams. WNBA front offices now prepare for unprecedented challenges requiring both immediate roster management and long-term restrictive CBA implications. Rising salaries benefit players while championship roster construction becomes exponentially more difficult, demanding creative and often painful decisions redefining team-building approaches. The proposed salary cap structure essentially punishes success by preventing teams from developing and retaining multiple generational talents, forcing premature breakup of promising cores. This framework could inadvertently distribute talent across top teams, undermining competitive excitement that stars like Clark generate through counterproductive paradox. Clark's emergence didn't merely boost viewership, it exposed critical flaws in the WNBA's financial foundation, with her inevitable Supermax contract and Boston's forcing league and player negotiations towards CBA structures truly supporting competitive growth. Without immediate re-evaluation, the league risks suppressing essential star power needed for cultivation, creating urgent moments for structural transformation. While immediate challenges appear immense, Clark's unprecedented influence inadvertently provides WNBA salvation by exposing fatal CBA proposal flaws before 2026 and 2027 seasons arrive. Her presence demands necessary difficult conversations, with critical dialogue driven by retaining talents like her in Boston potentially producing revised CBA, allowing sustainable star power and competitive team construction, ultimately preserving the league's explosive growth trajectory for sustained future success.